Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
To make the steel, it took iron ore. This
How are you today? This feels kind of weird, but if I wear a mask, I can't breathe while I'm talking, and that just wouldn't work. I've tried that, and so I decided I would look weird rather than feel weird. Well, actually, I feel weird now, but choices. Economics is all about choices, as you're going to see. And since March, we've all been making choices. Not choices that we wanted to have to make, but we don't get to choose those things. We have to take the world. This is an important idea in economics, that we don't get to decide what do we want the world to be like. We have to start with what is the world like? What are the options we have? What's the best we can do with the situation that we face? And my ideal situation is not standing here looking at you through this thing and hearing my voice echo behind the shield, but we deal with the situation that we face. That is the way to make the best decisions possible. And that's the goal. We can sit around and moan and complain that things aren't the way we want them to be, but that doesn't lead to better outcomes. That's what economics is all about. How can we take the situations we have and get the best outcome we can get. Okay? So let's see here, and I'll tell you now. Things are going to go wrong. When I use Zoom, there are problems. And so just, expect there are going to be periods where I have to pause and figure out what is going on. There probably will be a day where I can't figure it out, and I'll say, go home, I'll record the lecture, I'll put it up. That's just probably going to happen. And I've gotten myself accustomed to that idea, which is not easy for me. I like to, one of the things I like about teaching is that you get to teach the same course over and over and over. And so you kind of get better at it, and you know what you're going to do. And I'll tell you, this is going to be a different semester because so many things have happened that are really good examples or applications of economics. And so when something pops into my head that I remember, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not going to try to stick to my notes. I think that will be helpful. Let's see here. I do have, for those of you who are joining us by Zoom, I do have the chat window open. I have the participant window open, and if you have a question, I don't guarantee that I'll see it, but I will try to see it. Let's see here. And we will begin by calling the roll. Okay. I will tell you that my hearing is not the best, and with you behind a mask and with that air conditioner, I may have trouble hearing you. So, if I ask you to repeat it, doesn't mean you said it wrong. It means I'm having hearing problems. Okay, so just repeat it. Okay. And if I pronounce your name, let me know, and I'll try to say it correctly. All right, Alan Albornoz. Did I say that right? Okay. Sharon Brinson. Okay. Denise Corona. Okay. Jacob Driver. Nope. Manal Agari. Nope. Charmaine Guerin. Guerin, is that right? Isaiah Gonzalez. Okay. Macy Gray. Okay. Elizabeth Huffman. Ernita Hughes. Okay. Megan Poussin. Okay. Lacey Lashney. Okay. Vanessa Flores. Okay. Now, as we get into the people who are Zooming, you will need to unmute your microphone when you say here. And in the future, I may just use the Zoom participant list, but today I'm going to call everybody's name. Grant Leslie. Okay. Patricia Lewis.
Here.
Okay. Oh, and one thing I should point out, there is a 2 to 3 second lag in the audio. So if one person says something and somebody else talks over them, no, they weren't being rude. They started talking. One person didn't know the other person was talking. So don't worry if you get talked over or you talk over someone. Jocelyn Marceau.
Here.
Okay. Bradley Minninger.
Here.
Okay. Julio Moreno. Niam Packer.
Here.
Okay. Kayla Ramos. Marty Sandell.
Here.
I'm here. I'm Kayla Ramos. It cut me off.
Okay. Dylan Spoor.
Here.
Okay. Genoa Sayers. Okay. Joshua Urena.
Here.
Okay. Marcelo Vichin DeSantis.
Here.
Okay. Cameron Wilson.
Here.
Okay. Anybody I did not call? A bunch of people I did not call. Okay. Tell you what. At the end of class, if I didn't call your name, come up here because I'm afraid I won't get your name right. So just end of class, come up here and tell me. And if you're closer, I'll be able to make out your name correctly. Okay. In terms of COVID-19 related matters, you do have to wear a mask. You all have masks. You do have to wear it properly. It has to cover your mouth and your nose. That's the university policy, and that will be enforced. You can't eat and drink in class. Can't bring guests. Exams are going to be interesting. We don't have the room big enough for everybody at the same time. So one possibility is that half of you will take it here during the class time, and the other half of you will take it proctored. If we have to do that, then you will have to bear the cost of the proctoring, because the university doesn't cover that. However, there is a possibility we won't have to do that. I have another class at 2 o'clock, and it's a pretty small group, and it's in a big room. So if we have enough people who can take it on exam day at 2 o'clock in that room, then we may be able to avoid anybody having to pay for proctoring. That we'll just see. Let's see, and I don't have the proctoring cost with me. I believe if we have to go with proctoring, and if we use ProctorU, then for a 1 hour exam, believe it's $15. But anyway, we have some time. I will be getting some input from you before the exam so we can figure out, are there enough people who can take it at 2 so that nobody has to pay for proctoring. Let's see here. All right, we will be going over the syllabus, so you will know how you'll be graded. You'll know the things that we will be doing. But before we get into that, I want to say a few things about economics because most people sign up for economics because they have to have economics. That's what I did when I was in college. I didn't know what it was. I had to have it, so I signed up for it. I want to convince you that economics is a course that is worth not only taking, but it's worth your time. It's worth understanding. I will suggest to you that if people, especially policymakers, understood the 10 big ideas in chapter 1 of your book, things would be a lot better right now. But most people don't understand those ideas. Not just policymakers, most people. Even if they've taken an economics course, that doesn't mean they understand these principles. And you're going to be seeing principles which, if you understand them and you apply them to your life, you will be able to make better decisions. You'll be able to make decisions that enable you to better achieve the things that you want to achieve. Start out by telling you a little bit about me and how I became interested in economics. My name is Bob Jones. I forgot to mention that. I grew up in Longview, Texas. Went to Texas A&M for my undergraduate degree. And then I got a master's in economics at A&M, and then I went to UCLA to get my PhD. When I finished there, I taught at Samford University in Birmingham for a while, taught at McNeese State for a while down in Lake Charles. Then I spent most of my working time at Northwestern in Natchitoches. Taught there for about 20 years, and I've been here at LSUA since the fall of 2013. I'm very glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here. I think you will get a very good education. But how good an education you get, no matter where you go, depends largely on what you do, on your attitude. Do you really want to learn, or do you just want to get a passing grade? When I was at Northwestern, I made the mistake of asking one time, students were frustrated because they didn't do well on an exam, and I was frustrated, and I said, do you want to learn something, or do you just want to get a grade? And there was this loud response, we want a grade. And I can understand that. I remember being a student, but how you do after you get out of school depends on what you have learned while you're in school. And I will do everything I can to help you to learn things that will be beneficial to you. I guarantee you that you are going to be exposed to extremely important ideas. I can't guarantee you that, that I'm the best person to present those ideas to you, but I guarantee the ideas are very, very important. And I guarantee you'll be listening to a lot to 2 economists who are very, very good at explaining economics. And we'll talk more about that when we get to the textbook in just a few minutes. Any questions so far? Okay. How I became interested in economics. I was a freshman at Texas A&M, signed up for economics because I had to take it, didn't know what it was. Went to class, and at the end of the first week of the semester, I went to the registrar's office and changed my major to economics. And I decided that I was going to major in economics. I was going to go to graduate school in economics. I wanted to teach economics. I just kind of went overboard. I decided this is what I like. And the reason I did that, I think, was because I was like a lot of students, a lot of freshmen especially, who had been paying close attention to the things right around them in their lives, but they hadn't really thought much about the broader world. And I got to college and to economics, and I started learning that the world was a lot bigger than I thought it was. And I started seeing that there are a lot of problems going on in the world today. It was the 1970s, and I got the feeling that everything was going wrong. Inflation was high, everything was becoming more and more expensive. Unemployment was high. Price of gas was high. I'd just gotten my, hadn't been that long since I got my driver's license, and now gas was too expensive for me to drive. It just seemed like there are all these things going wrong, and I was being introduced to them through my economics course. And I wanted to know, what is causing all these problems? Who's causing all these problems? And most importantly, I wanted to know what can be done to deal with it. What can be done to make these things better? And that's why I was drawn to economics, because economics gave me a logical, organized way to structure my thinking and to make sense of the apparent chaos that was going on all around me. I knew what my teacher was telling me. I knew who he was blaming, but how did I know if he was telling me the truth? Well, economics was giving me a way to think through these issues so I could decide, is what he's telling me the truth or something else the truth? So I started thinking about, or started taking economics courses. And then one day I went to class and my teacher came in and he said that he had just been to a lecture that a visiting professor from UCLA had given. And this professor, on the way to class, had, driving down the road, he saw a shopping center, and out in the parking lot, there were some guys cleaning shopping carts. Right? There was a company. That's what they did. They went around and cleaned shopping carts. And this visiting professor said, who would have thought you could make a living doing nothing but cleaning shopping carts? Okay? And most people would have seen it and thought, they wouldn't even have thought about it. But this guy observed what was in front of him and he thought about it. Okay? And he asked questions about it. Okay? He was observing things that other people didn't observe and other people didn't think about. Okay? And I started thinking about that. Okay? Well, why were these guys out cleaning those shopping carts? Who told them to do it? Okay? Nobody told them to do it. Nobody said to the owner, you have to clean shopping carts. That's your mission in life. They chose to do it. Okay? Well, how did they know somebody wanted that service provided? Okay? And I started thinking about other things. When you want milk, you go to the store, you don't have to call them up and say, you know, could you get me some milk so I can have some? No, you go to the store, it's there. Nobody told the producer to have milk there for you. Right? And yet you go to the store and there's milk there, there's bread there, most of the things you want when you go to the store, it's there. How does that work? It seemed like magic. Right? And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, I want to understand how this process, how this system really works. And I thought, you know, it would be interesting to study under people like this professor who looks at the same thing other people see, but they see more and they think about it and they use what they learn to better understand their world. So I started thinking about going to UCLA to get my PhD. And about that time, hold on a second, I came across a guy named Thomas Sowell. Anybody familiar with Thomas Sowell? He's a very interesting guy. I'll play a little bit of this for you just to get a sense of what he's like. Maybe I'll play that.
Thomas Sowell has taught economics, intellectual history, and social policy at Southern.
Can y'all hear that? Is it loud enough? I'll put up a link to this. The way I'm connecting my surface to the system, the only sound we're getting is through my surface. And so it's probably the people who are Zooming can hear it better than the people here. Anyway, this is Thomas Sowell. I'll summarize what he says. He was born very poor. Basically, he was an orphan. He was brought up by some of his relatives. And he started observing that you have people like him who are very poor and you have other people who are very rich. He talks about how when he was going to one of his first jobs on the a train or bus, that he would go through a certain part of town. They have really, you know, nice houses and everything looks great. And then they get to his part of town. And, you know, you see things and you wonder, why is this? What is the explanation for this? Why doesn't everybody have the nice house? And he became a Marxist, which is a kind of extreme version of socialism. And he believed that he was very concerned about low-income people, and he wanted changes that would help low-income people. He was very smart. He went to Harvard, got a bachelor's degree in economics. He's still a Marxist. He went to University of Chicago, which is one of the top universities in the country for economics, and still a Marxist. But he observed. He took a job with the government in the labor department, and he observed how things worked. And he came to the conclusion that he was wrong. And he concluded that, you know, socialism isn't really going to help the people at the bottom. He came to the conclusion that if you really want to help the people at the bottom, then you need a different type of economic system. And he concluded that a market economy was the best economic system, not just for the rich, but for everybody. And I was really attracted to this guy because he was very convinced of one position, but he was open-minded. He looked at the evidence, he thought about it, and he was willing to say, you know what, I was wrong, so I'm going to change my position. And I'm going to follow the facts. I'm interested in truth, not just in defending what I currently believe. And I decided, this is the kind of guy that I would like to study under. I want to learn from this guy. So in the summer of 1980, I went to UCLA because I wanted to study under Thomas Sowell. Unfortunately, if you watch this whole video, you find out that in the summer of 1980, he left UCLA and went to the Hoover Institute, where he stayed for the next 40 years, and he's still there. So even though I went to Los Angeles specifically because I wanted to study under this guy, I never actually got to even meet him. But I did get to study under people similar to him, people who were interested in finding out what is true, not just proving that I'm right, but trying to find out what's right, what's true. Right? And there's so many issues where, if two of us disagree, there's a good chance that neither one of us is completely right. And we can both learn from interaction. And so that's what I would like this course to be about. Okay? No doubt there will be things that we cover in this class that you disagree with. There are things in the textbook that I disagree with. Okay? That's okay. I'm interested in what you think. Okay? And our ability, we can have some discussion in class, but it's somewhat limited. But you can always send me an email. You can talk to me on the phone. You can come by. And I like to talk to students. I like especially to talk to students who hold different views than I do. Okay? Because partially I'm interested in why do they see it the way they do? What can I learn from these people who have a very different view than I do? So when you disagree with something, let me know. This is not a course where you have to say the right things or you're going to get in trouble. Okay? I do want you to understand the ideas that this course will teach you, okay? But you don't have to agree with anything. If you disagree, let me know. We'll talk about it, and I may find that I'm wrong, at least to some degree. Okay, well, we're going to skip over the other video since the sound isn't working very well. Let's go on to the syllabus. Okay, so everybody, if you're Zooming, you should now be seeing the ECON Moodle page. Okay, and there, the resolution on the screen is not the best because I was told the projector we have is the oldest in the building and it has some issues. This is a lot better than it looked when I started trying to get it to work last week. So when I did that, half of it was not on the screen. Anyway, this is the middle 2000 page, Econ 2000 page. You access Zoom meetings here. Also, the recordings will be here. If we cover something and you didn't understand it, you can go back and watch it. If you have questions, you can put the question up here and other people can answer it, or I can answer it. Let's see. This is my email. It's probably the best way to reach me, because I do check my email quite a bit. If you call my office number, that works pretty well too. Not because I'm generally in my office, but because my number will forward to another number. Okay? And if I'm not there, you can leave a voicemail and I will get back to you, at least within 24 hours. Okay, course syllabus. Go over it. My office hours are listed here. I will be in my office, physically in my office, on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the times that are listed here. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I do have hours by Zoom, phone, or email. Okay? So don't come looking for me in my office on Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, but you can find me by Zoom. You want to make an appointment, you can use this link to do that. Also, I have a direct link that you can, I believe you could use anytime that during my office hours. You could click on it and that would connect you to me. It's not here now, but I will put that up under office hours. The textbook, Modern Principles of Economics by Cowan and Tabarrok. Okay? With Sapling Plus. You do need the textbook, you do need the Sapling Plus. I realize there are some courses where there's supplemental stuff you buy that you never really use. Okay? I promise you, you will be using Sapling a lot. Okay? So it's something that is worth your time. If you have already taken the micro class, it's better to take this course first, but if you've already taken the micro class, then you should not have to pay anything for Sapling, because the package that we are using is good for 2 courses over a 12-month period. So you shouldn't have to pay more for that. In the past, a number of people had problems registering with Sapling, but last semester we finally figured out that it was because the university email security system was messing with the emails Sapling would send. So I don't think you'll have any problem registering this time. There are a lot of economics textbooks out there. I believe by far this is the best textbook available for a whole lot of reasons. One, I believe that the authors emphasize the topics that are most important. Because in a 1 semester class, we can just cover a tiny fraction of what could be covered. And so, what a book chooses to cover is really important. And I believe that it covers the things that are really important. Also, the authors are very good at presenting the material in ways that are very intuitive. I've been teaching economics for a long time. I've used a bunch of different textbooks, and yet on some of the just most basic things like supply and demand, they have certain ways of presenting it that I look at it and think, wow, how have I taught this for 30 years and I never thought of that? This is a great idea. So it's great presentation. It's a great selection of the topics to cover. They are on the forefront of technology. They started what is called Marginal Revolution University, MRU, where the 2 authors of the book record videos which are tied directly to the textbook. Now, a lot of textbooks have videos that go with the book, and usually, in my experience, they have those videos because the publisher said, you really need to have some videos. And so they said, okay, we'll make some videos. These videos are excellent. They're very, very good. And the authors are very accessible. They have a blog, Marginal Revolution, and they are putting up things, every day. And so you can read what they say in the textbook about something, and then you can go to their blog and see how they're applying those ideas to what happened in the news today and yesterday and the day before. And you can email them, and you will probably get an email back because they like to understand how students view the world, because they know that if they're going to have a good textbook, they have to understand the mindset of the students who are reading the book. So I think the book is just absolutely excellent. It's taken me a lot of time and effort to switch from what I was using before to what I'm using now. But it is absolutely, it was a good decision. In fact, some of the examples they use in the book, they talk about, what would be the effect if there was a worldwide pandemic? How would that affect the economy? This came out 2 years ago, but they anticipated those applications. All right. Some of these things you don't really have to read very closely. Tell you a little secrets. There are a lot of things that faculty are required to put in a syllabus. Maybe they don't want to put it in, but you have to put it in. So it's there. I'm going to talk about the things that are important. The topic outline is useful to look at because it does give you a sense of where we are headed, things we'll be talking about. Okay, attendance is very important. If you're in class, you're attending. If you are attending by Zoom, you're attending. Both, they count equally. And I will be able to get the participant list from Zoom. So if you're Zooming, that counts. Anytime you are sick, possibly sick, okay, don't come to class. Okay? Attend by Zoom, even if it's your time to be here. Just email me, tell me you're not, actually probably didn't have to email me, but just watch it on Zoom, and you will get credit for that. Okay, it says sign the roll sheet. Well, we're not supposed to have roll sheets these days, so I'm not sure. I may be calling the roll. I'll be doing something to make sure that that I know who's here. You will. There is an equation that I use for calculating your grade. The grading scale is just the basic 90 and up is an A, 80 to 89.9 to B, and so on. And I calculate your semester average with this equation. Okay? The most important determinant of your grade is how you do on the exams. There are 4 exams. 3 will be hopefully in class. The final will be remote and will be proctored. You probably already heard that once we get to Thanksgiving, everything goes remote. So the last week of the semester, And the final we will be doing remotely. The lectures will be by Zoom, and then the exam will be proctored. The exams count 80% of your grade. Okay, so clearly, that's the most important thing. Your sapling average, sapling is the supplemental resource that you'll be using, multiplied by your attendance factor. That's just the percentage of times that you're class times that you're here. So if you're always here, that's 1. If you're here 90% of the time, that's 0.9, and so on. Times 0.2 plus B. Okay? Well, that means it's 20% plus B is for a bonus. Okay? And the bonus can be significant. B is 0.04, so that means 4%. If you have to do certain things, okay? If you do those things, then you get a 4% bonus. If you do what's required for 6%, then you get a 6% bonus. What that means is by qualifying for the bonus, that can raise your average by roughly 6 points. Okay? So if you had a 74 average and you qualify for the 6%, that would kick you up to an 80 average and go from a B, from a relatively low C to a B. So that bonus is important. What do you have to do to get the bonus? Well, you have to submit your notes over the MRU videos. As a part of sapling, you'll be watching these videos that I talked about a few minutes ago. Okay? And there will be questions as you watch the video. At the end of the video, you answer these questions. That's a part of your sapling grade. Okay? But I also want you to take notes while you're watching the video. Okay? You don't have to write everything down. Okay? Just like in class, I want you to think about what they're saying, and then you write down the important parts of it. Okay? It doesn't have to be long. You just write down what you learned from the video, and then you submit those on the day of the exam. And we'll have to, normally you can bring those to class, or you can upload them to Moodle. But since we're trying to minimize our contact with paper, probably I'll ask you to upload those to Moodle, and I can help you with that if you have any trouble with it. So you got to to get the bonus, you have to submit the notes. Second, you have to have a sapling average of at least 80 by the end of the semester. Okay? So on all the sapling work that you do, you need an 80 average. Third, demonstrate that you are taking the course seriously. Okay? Now, what I mean by that is that if you don't do well at the beginning, you do something about it. If you make a 50 on the first exam, then you make an appointment, you come see me. We look at what you missed. We figure out what you need to do differently. There are a lot of study habits I see students follow that absolutely lead to a bad grade. And if you avoid those study habits and you study in the right way, your grade will go up. So if you don't do well in the first exam, you come by to get help, then you've met that third requirement. If you don't do well and you don't do anything about it, then you're not going to qualify for the bonus. I'm trying to create incentives for you to make the choices that will lead to the result that we both want. I definitely want you to understand the material. Hopefully you want that too, and you want a good grade. And so I try to give you incentives to do what you need to do in order to get that outcome. All right. And I encourage you to look at the examples that I give you here. You average 87. but you don't do the sapling, you make a D. If you average 87 on the exams, but you don't do sapling, you make a D. If you average 69 on the in-class exams, but let's go on down to the next one. If you average 71 on the in-class exams, but you qualify for the bonus, then that pulls you up to a B, even though your average on the exams were only 71. All right. If you have trouble reading the textbook, and a lot of people do, right, don't panic. A lot of times people have trouble reading the textbook because they are accustomed to reading things that you can just kind of skim through, okay, and you've got it. A lot of books have a lot of fluff in it, and you can just, there's maybe one key idea in a whole paragraph. The textbook, every word they put there is important. So if you skip half the words, you're not going to understand it. Okay? So have trouble understanding it, go back through it, read it again. If you come across words that you don't know the meaning of, look them up. That's a very, very important study habit. You don't just skip over the words you don't understand. Okay? Look them up. Sometimes you may have to read it twice. You may have to read it 3 times, especially at the beginning. But once you get used to the things we talk about in economics, it does get easier. I have had students who just absolutely fail the first exam, but they're serious students, and they want to know, what do we have to do to improve? And they do it. And I've seen people go from an F on the first exam to an A on the second exam. Okay? That does happen. So if you don't do well, don't panic. Just focus on, what do I need to do differently? It's better to start at the beginning and think, what do I need to do in order to not have a problem on that first exam? Let's see. On the sapling assignments, here's the document that shows you the due dates and the closing dates. This will sound confusing at first, but there's a reason for it. Okay? Now, all of the sampling assignments for the course are listed here. Okay? Notice in the green, you've got each week. Okay? And the next column is the chapter, and then the next column is the particular activity that it's referring to. The due dates are always on Friday at 7 p.m. That's the official due date. Okay? There is a 24-hour grace period. Okay? That means that on Saturday evening, officially it's due on Friday. On Saturday evening, I will look to see what you've done, see how you're doing. Okay? And as long as you're making pretty good progress, then I will let you continue working on it, and it stays open until September 17th, which is the date of the first exam. Okay? So as long as you're keeping up pretty much, then you will be able to work on all of the sapling activities for the first exam until the day of the exam. Okay? If you're not keeping up at all, then I can give you a 0 for those. As long as you're pretty much keeping up, you've got a lot of flexibility in when you do it. Okay? There are different types of activities. Let's see here. Let's go on over to Sapling. Okay, this is what it will look like once you have registered for the course. And you will see the various assignments listed here. The videos are, I believe, between 5 and 10 minutes long, so they don't take a lot of time. You do not need to spend a lot of time taking notes. Just like you come to a lecture, you take notes while you're watching the lecture. When you're watching the videos, take notes while you're watching the video. You don't have to make it look good, just take notes. What did you learn while you're watching this? That's what counts. The probably the main activity under Sapling is called the learning curve. It has an interesting structure. For each learning curve activity, you have a target number of points. For example, here. Okay, the target is 400. Every time you answer a question, you get points, okay? And you can stop when you get to the 400. Well, when you get to 400, you get to the target, then you get 100 for the exam, for that assignment. Really important to remember that on the learning curve, your grade is 100 or 0. You don't get any credit until you've hit that target. Once you hit the target, then your grade goes to 100. So that's really important. You got to get to that target. One of the nice things about the learning curve is that it starts with relatively easy problems, so it helps you learn the basics. They don't give you as many points, okay, but you're starting easy. And then as you get those easy ones right, it takes you to harder questions that give you more points. As you are answering a question, okay, you can click here, read the ebook page on this topic, and it will take you to the textbook, and you can see the material that is specifically useful for that question. Okay? You can go to the ebook. There's no penalty for that. Okay? You can also get a hint. Okay? If you get a hint, then there's a penalty for that. I forget how much of a penalty there is, but you're not going to get as many points when you answer the question correctly. Okay? Or you can just give up. You can click show answer. It will show you what the correct answer is or how to work it out. So you learn something, but you don't get any points. Okay? And you just keep going. There's a huge number of questions in the learning curve, so you don't have to answer all the questions. You just have to get to the number of points, the target points.
Dr. Jones. Will these questions be kind of centered around the test?
That's a good question. Let me say it like this. The purpose of the exam is to test to see, do you understand these concepts that we've been talking about, that we've been working on? And the purpose of the sampling activity is to help you understand those same topics, okay, those concepts. The learning curve activities are generally in a multiple choice format. Okay? And the exams will generally be in a multiple choice format as well. So I would say that if you understand how to do the sapling work, then you should be prepared for the questions. Of course, one of the problems you have is sometimes if you keep working on something, you just kind of remember what the answer is, even if you don't understand it. Okay? So it is possible to get a pretty good sapling score eventually without really understanding. Okay? So you have to be honest with yourself. You work a problem, you have to say, do I really understand how to get that answer, or am I just remembering something I don't understand? But if you, I would say this, if you understand how to get the sapling answers, then you should do very well on the exam, because I try to make there be a close fit between what sapling covers and what the exams cover. And over the summer, I spent a good bit of time going through a number of these questions, and they're generally very good questions. There are some that are not my favorites, but generally I think they're very good. One good thing about the learning curve is that you get stuck on something, just skip it. Just go on to another problem. You don't lose points. You can never lose points. But if you get the hint, then that reduces the number of points you will get if you get it correct. So I think the learning curves are, excuse me, is really, really very, very useful. The other types of activities, there is homework, or the MRU videos. Those, as I said, they're very important, very good. These videos literally were made with Hollywood producers. Okay? The content was designed by the two authors, but they're at George Mason University, and they have a lot of money from somewhere. I'm not sure where it came from, but they paid Hollywood people to produce these videos for them. So it's really good. And as you go through those videos, you will see questions. You will see questions. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay, you see the questions over here. You answer the questions as you watch the video. One thing you have to be careful about, when you get to the end of the video, sometimes it will pop up other videos you can watch, okay? And you may be tempted to click on one of those. Okay? Don't do that. Well, you can do that if you want to see the video, but to complete the assignment, you've got to access it through Sapling. Okay? And if you're ever watching a video and you see, oh, there are no questions over here, that means you've gotten out of Sapling and you're not going to be able to answer the questions. So just go back into Sapling. Okay? All right. You also have work it out. Those are useful. There generally not too many questions in that. There's homework that is also useful. With the homework, if you answer it and you get it wrong, you do get to answer it again, but there's a 5% penalty. Okay? So you want to get it. You want to study it before you start doing the homework, because you'll get more points if you get it right on the first time. With work it out, there is no penalty. With the videos, MRU videos, there is I believe it's a 15% penalty. Okay? So you want to pay close attention as you watch the video, because if you have to do a second guess on it, then you won't get as many points. There are practice quizzes These will not actually figure into your sapling grade. Right? This is strictly practice, and you only get one shot at it. This is where you can test, what do I really understand? Right? So you take it and you'll see your score. And if you don't do well on it, well, that's good information that you need to go back and study it. You don't have to worry about your score because it's not going to figure into your average. Okay? All right, you'll notice the very first things are using the tools of sapling. That's really important because when you first start using it, it can seem rather confusing. But this takes you through how you use it, and you'll see that once you get used to it, it's pretty intuitive. But it can seem confusing at first. And then also the math review is very, very important. We will not be using a lot of math in this class. Okay? Nothing more basic algebra. We'll be using some basic algebra, but nothing more complicated than that. Okay? But the math we use, you need to understand. Okay? When we talk about percentages and things like that, it's not real complicated, but you have to be able to deal with those percentages correctly. And so the math review will help you to identify any things you need to be working on. Oh, another thing about the learning curve, once you hit the targets, okay, then you get 100 for that score, but you can keep working on it. Okay? If you say, well, I've got 100, but I'm still not real comfortable with it, keep answering questions. Your grade doesn't go up, but your understanding will go up. Okay? And for learning curve, you can see what your average, your percent correct was for each activity. Okay? And that doesn't figure into your semester average, but I will be looking at that to get a sense of how people are doing. And you should look at it as well, because if your average is, if you get your score up to 100, but your percent correct is 60, that means you had to answer a whole bunch of questions to get it up to the 100, and suggest that maybe there's some things you're not understanding. And the goal is to understand these things before the exam. This has some great data on it. FRED is a publication of the St. Louis Federal Reserve System, and this is updated in real time. We'll be talking about the CPI. What is the CPI? What does it measure? Consumer Price Index. So, if things are becoming more expensive, that's important. CPI over the last year was up 1%. So that's not a real big problem. Okay? Civilian unemployment rates over 10%. Okay? If you'd asked me back in early March, when the unemployment rate was below 3%, what are the chances that unemployment's going to hit 10%? I would have said that's not going to happen. Unemployment had, during the last recession in 2008, the worst it got was 10%. And we had a terrible crisis at that point. And so there's no way we're going to hit 10%. Okay? We're over 10% now. Real GDP. We'll be talking a lot about GDP. GDP is just how we measure how much the economy is producing. And that's our main guide to how the economy's doing. Okay? And generally it goes up to 3% a year. Okay? Back in early March, if you had told me GDP was going to go down at an annual rate of 4%, I would have said, no, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But the number you see there, minus 33%. In early March, if you had told me that was going to happen, I would have said, no, something is, that didn't happen during the Depression. That's not going to happen. But it did happen. And we'll be talking about why it happened. What can the government do about it? What has the government been doing about our economic problems? Has the government done anything? Did any of you find money suddenly appearing in your checking account? The government gave lots of people $1,200. Okay? I'm married. $2,400 appeared in our checking account. Okay? Where did they get that money from? Is the government rich? No. The government is not rich, quite the opposite. So where did they get that money? That is a question that lots of people are very interested in. And by the time we get to the end of this course, you will know exactly where that money came from and how the government can create that money. And we'll also look at the question, well, what happens if they create too much money? And what can happen is that prices can go up not by 1%, but by 5% or 10% or 100%. Okay? Is that going to happen? Well, we don't know. But the things that we talk about in this class will give you a framework for thinking about these issues. And you will see that you have some very smart people that see things one way and other people who see things a very different way. Okay? But so I can't tell you that at the end of the course, you'll know exactly what's going to happen. But at the end of the course, you'll be able to watch the news and have a sense of what they're talking about. And you'll be able to listen to some people and say, that person doesn't really sound very credible. I'm not going to worry about what they say. Okay? And then other people, you can say, that sounds interesting, they may be right. Anyway, we are almost out of time. Are there any questions?
Mr. Jones, sorry. I have like a note-taking program on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
So is it okay if I just submit a picture on Moodle to you of the MRU video notes?
Now, you mean it transcribes what they're saying? It's fine to take notes using a computer, okay? But if you have something that is simply transcribing what was said, no, that you don't want to do that because you want to take what they're saying and put it into your own words. That's a key thing. Okay? I see some people who have, it sounds like a transcript. Okay? Maybe they were using the software, I don't know. But that is not, that's not going to be helpful to you. You want to take what they say, maybe you may want to pause it, think about what did that mean, and then you write that down. That's the way to do that. Any other questions? All right, well that wasn't as weird as I thought it would be. and I think will probably improve as we go on, especially if you are watching by Zoom. If there were problems that I was not aware of, let me know, because I may be able to do something about it. I know last week I found that changing the audio settings really made a huge difference. So if there's a problem, let me know, and don't say take the mask off. I can't do that. But anything else, let me know. And so I guess on Thursday this is weird, I will not be seeing any of you people. I will be seeing you other people. So if you have questions or suggestions, let me know. Okay. See you Thursday. Oh, yeah, if you were not on the roll, let me know. Okay. Carter, okay, yeah. Oh, they recognize those eyes? What's your name? I'm sorry?
Deja Ross.
Oh, what's your last name?
Ross.
Something. Tell you what, just write it down. Just write it down. Don't touch the paper. No. Maybe I'll just tear it. It's just, yeah. Here. Sure. You're on the roll.
We can interchangeably do the remote file and then
You need to do the remote all the time?
not all the time, just if needed. If we let you know in advance if that was possible.
You can. The university wants people here, but if you I think what I'm supposed to say is if you feel that you need to not be here, then you can attend remotely. So yeah, if you're, I guess the important thing is if you're not here, but if you are connected by Zoom during class, then that will count.
I will make every effort this morning. I drove from Lafayette to be here at 9:30.
Oh, really?
I'm going to introduce myself a little bit. You'll probably be seeing me.
What's your name?
Nancy Gray. My boyfriend is Dylan West. Is taking your micro today at 2, and he took macro. So, real quick, I am on the dance list every semester. I like to learn and make sure I know it. My boyfriend's a math major. We were at Lafayette last night. His dad is in the hospital. He will not tell you that, but he will get in. But we're trying to consolidate to where he's usually group B, which is 5 times less. So he'll come on the whatever day, I guess. So we're trying to consolidate to do all the classes.
Okay, your last name is
Gray.
Gray. Okay.
I'm trying to make all my classes on Tuesday, so I can't come to this class and be here on Tuesdays, and all my remotes will be on Thursday.
Okay,
So I should not change,
okay.
and he should not change either. I just wanted to ask you if that was possible.
Yeah, that would be fine. That would be fine. Once we get into the swing of this, there needs to be some switching around. We're not absolutely committed to
I
A
know,
through L.
and I know y'all figuring it out just like everybody
Yeah.
else is figuring it
I mean, it's a good idea to start, but there's flexibility. So, so when you need to remote that.
Because the only problem is, I'll tell you quick what happened. Him and my brother-in-law were under a truck and the jack broke and fell on him. So he has a cracked sternum, broken ribs, broken clavicle, broken pelvis on both sides, lacerated spleen, so he had a splenectomy, and he just got 6 units of blood. So I actually just went and put his ID number for that blood drive, because everybody that donates his ID number credits his medical bills.
And that's his brother?
That's my boyfriend's brother-in-law, so it's his sister's fiance and his dad. So the boy is okay. He had pelvis surgery. So both of them are complete and total care for 3 months. They cannot be weight bearing. They cannot have weight. So the reason why we try to do it all in one day is because somebody has to be scheduled to be at home with him. So he just went back to the hospital last night because now he has a bowel obstruction and pneumonia.
Mm.
So hopefully he'll get out soon, but he needs total care. So everybody's staying home and pitching in. Like I said, he will not tell you that, but his name's Dylan West. He'll be here with you today.
Well, I'm glad you let me know.
I just wanted to see if we could do that instantaneously if possible. So
Yeah.
I know you need to be notified.
Yeah, that'll work.
And we try to do it by our schedule. We work around our schedule. We're not trying to change our schedule because the simpler it can be, the better it can be. I just wanted to see if that was possible.
Yeah, that'll be fine. Uh-huh.